Hello.
So,
Okay. Mhm.
Yep,
All
I am.
right.
Yep. I'm ready.
All right, Lori, take it away.
Well, welcome, fellow PowerTalk Toastmasters, to this special and first online meeting. I am your president, Lori Zebarth, and I want to welcome you on this fine Monday evening. Before we get started with the program, I do want to turn, which I will turn over to Diane in a minute. I just want to welcome Luminary, and I'm sorry, I cannot roll my R's, so I don't even want to try and mess that up. But I want to welcome you. Thank you so much for joining us for this special meeting. Hope you enjoy it. This is a very fun crowd with very high profile and highly motivated speakers here. So I hope you enjoy your time here, and please feel free to ask questions along the way, but we hope you enjoy your time with us this evening. With that, I will, yeah, absolutely. With that, I will turn this over to Diane, and we'll talk a little bit more about Zoom meeting basics and etiquette. Diane.
Thank you, Lori. This idea came about last fall when we were doing some brainstorming on how we might get more speaking opportunities. And this was one of the ideas, to have a Zoom meeting. I have a few basic tips to share with you, and I'll let you practice things as well. The first tip is to eliminate distractions as much as possible. So if you haven't already muted your cell phone, you should mute your cell phone. And if you're in an enclosed room, hopefully the door is closed or you have no pets or kids that will be bothering you. I know if I let my cat in, she'll walk right in front of the screen. When you aren't talking, if you can remember, to mute yourself. So everybody practice muting and unmuting yourself. And we'll see if you don't know how to do that, we will go over that. So practice muting. Good job. And the reason you generally want to mute yourself when you're not talking is in case there's any background noise. The hard thing to do is to remember to unmute yourself when it is your turn to talk. We will use the chat box for individual or group messages. And when we have our evaluation time, after each speaker, we will have 1 minute that you can write comments in the chat box to a particular speaker. So we're all going to practice using chat, and you can find chat if you have the toolbar where there's the 3 dots for more. You can click on chat to bring it up. And I already see there's been some chat. So everybody try to type a message to everyone. It could just be hello. And see if you can use the chat. Charlie, have you found the chat?
This is stop video, mute my audio, pin video, rename, hide self view.
So where you can go for chat is, do you see where they have mute, stop video, that line, and you see 3 dots at the end, like dot, dot, dot. Do you see that?
I have that. I tapped on that, and that's
the first option should be chat.
First option is stop video.
Okay, you don't have that. Try doing on your keyboard Alt-H.
Alt-H. Nope.
You are not getting chat.
Nope.
Does anyone else have any other ideas on how to access chat? Because those were the 2 ways I knew how to do it, to actually.
Charlie, do you see anywhere on your screen something that says invite or participants or share?
It's a share, yeah.
So I have chat right next to share on mine.
Okay. So they have it. I have it too. So
So click on that.
Oh. Oh, okay.
Do you see a chat box come up?
That's a Zoom group chat.
Yes. Go ahead and at the bottom where it has to everyone, type message here, type hi.
Everyone. Oh, type message here. Okay, yeah. Okay. Hi, and then what? Enter.
Enter. Yeah.
You see it?
Nope.
I do.
Wait.
I see it.
Oh, that's the Catherine. Oh, that's because you are to Catherine privately.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And I
do
sent you
a message to everyone.
Oh, to everyone. Everyone. It doesn't have a to everyone.
Oh, so wait a sec. Do you see the word to colon and then there's like a gray box
Mine's blue, but
or whatever? There's you see the word to right above type message, correct? You know where you typed the message that went to Catherine?
It says to Catherine, right?
Okay. So in the box that has Catherine's
everyone,
name.
Got it. Okay.
Okay.
Let me try it now.
Okay.
Okay.
Got it. Now,
All right. Okay.
now we want to practice typing a message to just one person. So everybody click on the chevron next to the word everyone, the little little V,
Okay. Yeah.
and you'll see a list of the people, and I should be one of the people. So select me and send me a hello. And it comes up as privately. Good job. I think the only one who didn't do it is Kim, but he doesn't really have to because I know he knows how to do it. Right, Kim? Okay. So I'm just going to move that little chat box off to the side. And that is how we will give comments to our speakers.
What do I do to leave it off the side?
I don't know what your computer setup is. So you could just leave it up. I have a big screen, so I can move it off to the side.
That sounds a good idea. Okay, bye.
Now we're going to have some hand signals. If you can't hear someone, they're like talking and they forgot to unmute themselves, you can do cupped hand around the ear, which should indicate to them they need to unmute.
Okay.
Thumbs up if you need to signal approval.
Okay.
Thumbs down if you need to signal disapproval or it's not working. Now for timing, and Charlie will go over this later, we're going to do timing a little bit different using fingers. Oh, there was my alarms. Okay. When there's 2 minutes left, the timer will show 2 fingers, 1 minute, 1 finger. Time up is a fist, and you should wrap up within 30 seconds. And you'll see Charlie demonstrate that a little bit later. Now, when it comes to applause, you can use jazz hands or just a little silent palm clap that's visible. That's just how you can show some applause. All right, our meeting theme is TMI. That does not mean Toastmasters International. It means too much information in honor of tomorrow, January 28, being Data Privacy Day. It's an international holiday that started in 2007 in Europe, 2009 in the US, and the purpose is to promote privacy and data protection. Here's my little public service announcement to not get hooked by phishing. Maybe you've gotten those suspicious emails at one time. And this is what phishing is: the fraudulent practice of sending emails purporting to be from reputable companies in order to induce individuals to reveal password information or personal information, such as passwords and credit card numbers. Here's one that I got earlier this month, and I hate to admit that I fell for this, and I'll explain what happened. So there's this exciting and believable subject line. I actually have a Stripe account, which is an online payment processor that I have connected to my Thinkific course page. So if somebody signs up on one of my online courses, I get money in my Stripe account. So it's like, oh, I got money, great. I should have noticed the suspicious email. And when I clicked on the Stripe dashboard link in the email, it asked for my login information. Here's a clue. Do not log in by clicking a link in an email. What I should have done is I should have gone to the website, but no, I wasn't thinking, and I put my login information in, and right away it popped up asking me for my bank information. I'm like, whoa, this is not right. I probably should have also noticed the bad English in the email. So I had to go to the website, log in, and change my password because I got hooked by phishing. All right, we're all Toastmasters, so we know the value of evaluations. We have 3 evaluators for each of our 3 speakers, and in a moment I will have each of them tell what they're going to be looking at for the speaker's project. Lori, you're going to be evaluating Kenzie. What are you going to be looking for Kenzie's evaluation?
Kenzie tonight is doing a researching and presenting speech. So I will be looking for generally how well she does working with her PowerPoint. She mentioned earlier tonight that she has not done a speech with PowerPoint before. So I'm going to see how seamless she is working with the PowerPoint and continuing to present her message. And then I'll give a general evaluation on the message and the presentation.
Thank you, Lori. Our next evaluator to evaluate Jim Emery will be Catherine Hoy. Catherine, what will you be looking for?
Jim is going to actually be giving a presentation that he gave before a little bit, but for this one, since he's starting another path in Pathways, it's considered the first speech. So he's going to give the speech, he's going to get feedback on the speech, and then he will present it again at another meeting. But what he asked me to look for in this presentation was, how does he come across on Zoom? How is he handling the video portion, amongst other things? So I'm looking forward to how is Jim going to do on this? Awesome, as always, I'm sure.
Thank you, Catherine. And our final evaluator will be Charlie Kundinger evaluating Sarah Bateman. Charlie, what will you be looking for?
And her title is Building Better Stories, and the purpose of her speech would be to demonstrate an understanding of how to use presentation software, including the creation of slides and incorporating the technology into a speech. During the completion of this project, the member viewed or learned about presentation software and the most effective methods for developing clear, comprehensive, and enhancing slides. Sarah will deliver a well-organized speech on any topic. The topic should lend itself to using presentation software, watching for clear, legible, effective slides that enhance the speech and the topic. The speech may be humorous, informal, informational, or any type of the member's choosing. And the speech should not be a report on the content of the, quote, using presentation software, end quote, project.
Thank you, Charlie. Charlie is also our timekeeper. Charlie, can you explain how you'll be timing the speeches, the table topics, as well as our evaluations?
Boy, okay. Hold on to your pictures. The evaluation, the keynote evaluator, all of 3 of those will have, they have 10 to 15 minutes. But at 13 minutes, if they arrive at that, I'll hold up 2 fingers. Can anybody see V for victory or 2? Mm-hmm. Better to have that way or this. And then 1 if it's at 14, and then a fist if it's at 15. Now for table topics, I will hold up again, it's 1 to 2 minutes for a table topicer, and I will hold up 2 minutes to start, and then 1 minute when there's 1 minute has already elapsed, there's 1 minute remaining, and then the fist at 0. And the evaluations are 2 to 3 minutes. After 1 minute, I will begin to show the 2, because that means you have 2 remaining, then 1, and then again the fist.
Thank you, Charlie. This is a little different than how we do it in our meetings. It's a countdown method where you just know when you've got 2 minutes, 1 minute, and no time, or you have to wrap it up within 30 seconds. So thank you for that, Charlie.
Thank you.
Our first speaker, I'm so excited. It's 2020. If you have something to promote or sell and you haven't yet thought about your digital strategy, now is the time. Kenzie Casciano began her career at a leading advertising agency in the Twin Cities, where she took hold to the world of digital marketing. She has since ended up at a well-known medical device company, serving as one of the business unit's primary digital strategists. Here to share her most important digital tips and tricks, please welcome Kenzie Casciano.
All right. Hi, everyone. Can you all see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Wonderful. And thanks, Diane. As mentioned in my introduction, my name is Kenzie, and I'm a digital strategist at Medtronic here in the Twin Cities. So today, let's talk about digital strategy. So I'd like to start off by saying that there is a very clear first step to developing your digital strategy. You absolutely cannot even start thinking about your digital strategy until you've completed step number 1. In fact, this first step is so preliminary that this entire presentation will be given assuming that you, as a business owner, have already completed step 1. Okay, no more waiting. What is the first step? Branding, branding, and more branding. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on this, but I wanted to touch on it because you absolutely must brand yourself and your business before strategizing your marketing plan. It might seem obvious, but it can be kind of difficult, actually. You need to know exactly what products or services you offer, exactly what type of audience needs your product or service, and you need to have clear and consistent messaging that coincides with your brand and your audience's needs. And on top of this, it all needs to be cohesive and recognizable. So if you haven't yet done this, or you're curious to learn more about how to brand yourself or your business, definitely let me know. I presented a branding workshop quite a while back in PowerTalk and would love to bring it back with even more insights that I've learned along the way. So now it's time to start talking digital strategy. So we all know this is important. We've heard 1,000 times that marketing has shifted since the digital age. Mobile devices allow information to be at the fingertips of those you're trying to reach all over the world. With something as broad and as daunting as the digital landscape, there are so many tips and tricks out there that it can be overwhelming to even begin. And as business owners, more than likely, you have more than enough to do in a day, which leaves little time to create and maintain a really robust and sound digital marketing strategy. So I wanted to go over what I believe are the 3 most important elements to consider when beginning your digital strategy. Feel free to pick and choose what is most relevant for you. Don't be afraid to do your own research. You can ask myself or other digital experts when you're unsure, and definitely tailor this information to meet your specific needs. So what we're going to go over today, these are the 3 tips and tricks. Number 1, start with a goal and make it measurable. Number 2, don't put your eggs in too many baskets. And number 3, use social to be social. Number 1, start with a measurable goal. You always start with a goal so you know what you're trying to accomplish. Your strategy will have endless holes and inconsistencies if you don't take this step. For example, are you looking to drive traffic to your website or increase brand awareness? Do you want your audience to engage with any specific calls to action on your site, like downloading a brochure or watching a video? Is your goal to increase sales or double your client base? With all the content that's out there on the internet, it's hard enough to get your message to the right people. So don't make it harder on yourself just by throwing a dart at a dartboard without even knowing what mark you're trying to hit. Defining your goals early will also help you choose which tactics make the most sense for your business and what you're trying to accomplish, which we're going to talk about a little bit later. So the second piece of this, and probably the more important piece of this, is to make your goal measurable. So it isn't enough to say, my goal is to increase brand awareness, or I want to reach a lot of users in my target audience. Because how would you ever measure the success of that? You know, what is considered a lot? Instead, say something like, I want 50% more active users to convert on my website via specific calls to action. Or another example would be, I want to increase reach and user engagement on Facebook and LinkedIn specifically by 30% each in 2020. When you use these specific dates and numbers in your goal statements, you'll ensure that you met your goal. And if you didn't meet your goal, how far off were you? And then it's easier to determine why and what you can do better moving forward. Number 2, don't put all your eggs in too many baskets. So I've seen this quite a few times with business owners and clients who want to get their message out to the world really quickly. There's this idea that the more you post and on as many platforms as possible means you're reaching more people, because the more you put out into the world, the more that's out there for people to see. And this is a really common mistake, because you really want quality over quantity. So you really need to be mindful of which tactics you're choosing to incorporate into your strategy. I've listed out a few here on the screen, including a pay-per-click campaign, starting a blog, creating every social media profile under the sun, cleaning up your local search, getting into email marketing. There are even more tactics out there than this, but these are just a few of the common ones. You'll find if you try to do them all and you want to say everything to everyone, you'll essentially end up saying nothing to no one, because you completely miss your mark. When you dive in like this, you won't just be incredibly overwhelmed by putting too much on your plate, but you'll have a really hard time knowing if you're even reaching your target audience and knowing which campaigns are having success. So instead, do some research before you start developing your strategy, and be mindful about which tactics you choose to invest your time and your resources into. You can determine which tactics make the most sense for your business because, for example, display and shopping ads through Google don't make sense for some businesses, the same way that starting a blog might not give you any return. So keep in mind too that every social media platform is not created equal. So LinkedIn versus Pinterest, or Instagram versus Twitter, social media profiles all have users with different characteristics and different needs. And I don't have time today to get into the differences between all these tactics you see listed on your screen, but if you ever need any recommendations, feel free to reach out to me and I'd be happy to help. Number 3, use social to be social. So my last tip, this is also an extremely common error that I've seen a lot, because it's easy to post the wrong content on social media. When you create social media profiles for your business, ultimately you are setting it up to grow your business. So you want to see that return on your investment of time and resources. So when you post on social media, you want people to sign up, you want people to buy your product, to call you. But this is a mistake because social media isn't an e-commerce platform. You can set up an ad campaign that shows targeted ads on social media and expect people to click and convert that way. But this is completely independent from your actual social media profiles. Your social media profiles should be used to make lasting and real connections with your audience. These platforms have changed the way marketing is these days, because marketing used to be a one-way communication tool. You sent your message out into the world. Nobody could respond to your flyer or your newspaper ad in real time. But now with social media, marketing has really become a two-way conversation. And there's a lot of ways that you can use that to your benefit. So give your business a personal flair so that users know there are actual humans behind your brand. You can engage with your followers and interact with what they post. Instead of blasting your followers with promotions and sales and trying to get them to buy something, post something commenting on a trending article that's relevant in your brand's industry. Something your followers might actually find interesting and engaging. And chances are you're going to meet your goals and more by approaching social media in this way. So I've written out a few do's and don'ts of social media, and I hope you take the time to consider these before you start your own digital strategy, because they're very important. Like I said before, don't blast your followers with promotions, because that gets old incredibly fast. Instead, understand really what your followers are looking for by following you. What are their needs? What do they want? What are they wanting to find? And engage with them. Don't ignore the people who follow you. A lot of times followers will post feedback on your social media profiles. They'll post comments, questions, concerns. Always respond to those. Share their content, tag people when necessary and appropriate. And doing this really helps build those lasting relationships and facilitates that two-way conversation. Do use branded and relevant hashtags. And hashtags are a really great thing to spread the reach of your message, but it's very easy to overdo. So be a little bit careful with the hashtags. Don't add as many as you can possibly think of, or hashtag keywords that are trending even when they don't completely relate to your post. So as a whole, all of these tips just go back to making sure that you're being mindful of what you're posting and content that you know your followers want to see and engage with. So to recap, in my opinion, these are the 3 tips and tricks to digital strategy that are the most important. And I say that lightly because there are a lot of tips and tricks that are incredibly important when you're developing your strategy. But start with a goal and make it measurable. Don't put your eggs in too many baskets, and use social to be social. And there is one really big piece of digital strategy that I haven't even mentioned tonight because it's just too great a topic to do justice in my 10 to 15 minutes, and that's search engine optimization. And that would probably be number 1 on my list if I had more time. Search engine optimization, or SEO, is huge. So stay tuned for maybe a digital strategy tips and tricks part 2 all about SEO, because that is one of the bigger pieces of this. So thank you everyone for listening, and definitely feel free to reach out to me if you have questions on how to apply this to your specific business, or if you just want to know really how to get started, because I know it's a lot of information to take in, especially if you've never done anything like it before. So I would be happy to help. And I'll turn it back to our Toastmaster now, Diane Windingland.
Okay, I'll turn my sound on.
Thank you so much, Kenzie. And at this time, if you could time for about a minute, Charlie.
Yes.
Everybody can go to the chat box.
All right.
And select Kenzie Casciano.
Right.
And give her a few comments. And you don't have to do that because you're, or yeah, you do. You don't have to do that for Sarah. So we'll do just a few comments that you think you would be helpful for Kenzie.
I'll start the minute now. 1 minute is up.
Thank you, Charlie. Hopefully you had a chance, everyone, to send Kenzie some comments, which she's probably busily reading right now.
I need to send it. Let me see.
Just hit return.
Or hit return, right?
All right, our next speaker. The most popular songs make the top 40 hit parade. But what about speeches? Please welcome our District 106 Toastmaster of the Year, Jim Emery, as he helps guide you to designing a top 40 hit parade speech. Jim Emery.
What a great song. Neil Diamond, Sweet Caroline. Definitely a top 40 kind of song. And we just had the this year's Grammy Awards. Some of you might have watched those. They were last night. There were so many awards, but that meant there were so many good songs. Don't you wish they had Grammys for speeches? Wouldn't that be cool? Well, songs and speeches are a lot alike. So let's start by looking at songs. Now, there's a lot of reasons for a song to be a hit song, to be a top 40 hit song. But most common, and usually most important, is a good hook. A good hook. In fact, a song producer will usually ask a songwriter right up front, what's your hook? So what is a hook? Well, a hook is a song element that grabs listeners' attention and hooks them in to listening. It's the thing that makes a song into that earworm that you're going to be humming to yourself out in the hall 3 hours later and wishing you could get rid of. But hooks, there are lots of kinds of hooks, so let's go over just a few of them. Sometimes the hook can actually be a complete story. If any of you remember the song Ode to Billy Joe, the song has this long story that leads you all the way up to why Billy Joe McAllister jumped off the Tallahatchie Bridge. And so that story sucks you in. And so it's the whole story that's actually the hook. If any of you ever heard the song Harper Valley PTA, it's kind of the same thing where this poor woman is reading the riot act to the hypocritical PTA members who are trying to tell her how to live her life. Now, hooks can also be just instrumental. When I was back in school, there was a song called Wipeout that had this drum solo in it that every high school, and in fact, every junior high drummer on the planet was learning so he could show how great a drummer he was. And most of them actually learned it pretty well because it actually wasn't that hard. Now, there are vocal hooks as well. They don't necessarily have to be lyrics. I suspect most of you know, na 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 na, na 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 na, hey, 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 goodbye. That lyric doesn't really mean anything particular, but I'll bet that hook, you've heard that one, and as soon as you hear the first na 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 na, you know exactly what it is. Now, sometimes rhythms are hooks. Baby shark, da 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 da, baby shark, da 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 da. Yeah, now try to get that out of your head for the next 20 minutes, right? Even in the classical world, Beethoven had a rhythmic hook. Da 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 da, da 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 da. 3 shorts and a long, and already you know it's Beethoven. You know it's his 5th symphony. Now sometimes hooks are lyrics. Pharrell Williams' song, Because I'm Happy, come along if you feel like a room without a roof. Because I'm happy, so that because I'm happy, you know what the song is, and that happy lyric will wake you up at 4 in the morning, that you just won't get rid of it. Sometimes a hook can be a good melody. The old Ray Charles song, Georgia, Georgia, the whole day through. That melody is just sort of haunting and stays with you. If you go back to Beethoven, if you know the Ninth Symphony, you know da 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 da. Once you hear that, you know you're in the Ninth Symphony right away. So those are all different kinds of song hooks. But what makes a good hook? First off is keep it short and keep it simple. The Beatles were masters at this. Here comes the sun, 4 words, and that's the hook. And they just would repeat it, and it just grabbed you in. Or I want to hold your hand, 6 words, and everybody knows what the song is, and they're already into it by the time you get to the second time you sing it. Another way to make a hook more effective is that it summarizes what the song is about. When Mick Jagger sings, I can't get no satisfaction, well, that's what the song's about. So you know where he's going with that song because that's the hook as well. So the hook and the meaning of the song fit together really well. Now, some of the best song hooks invite the audience to participate. Queen was really good at this. We will rock you. They had 80,000 people in stadiums singing that along with them. And it's a terrific hook because the audience just wants to jump right in and sing it along with you. Another one, I don't know if you'll be able to see my choreography here, but I suspect you've done yourself. YMCA, right? Any of you ever done YMCA? Probably you have. That's a great hook because not only is it memorable, it's like one word, and it invites the audience in to do something along with the singer. So that makes a terrific hook too. What are some other hooks that make songs better? Well, take that hook and repeat it. Don't do it just once. Maybe put it in up front, then repeat it a little bit later, and then maybe close the song with it as well. The song that I opened here, Sweet Caroline, right? Sweet Caroline comes very early in the song. Then you get a verse with some other stuff, then he comes back to Sweet Caroline again. And then the ending is just a loop of Sweet Caroline, good times never seem so good, all the way to fade out. So that repeat kind of burns the hook into your neurons if you're a listener, which is also a really good thing for a hook that will make your song memorable. Sometimes changing up the rhythm can help. The Supremes had a song that I don't remember the lyrics that led up to, but when it got to the chorus, they were really grooving and kind of going, and then it came to stop in the name of love before you break my heart. And just that stop and that big pause kind of grabbed your attention and made the song really memorable. With a hook, you want to choose your words carefully too, so that you avoid using the hooks elsewhere in the song. Sweet Caroline's a good example of that. The only time Neil Diamond says or sings Sweet Caroline is when he's delivering the hook in the chorus. So you don't dilute the impact of it in the verse part of the song. So if you're looking to write a top 40 hit song, always ask yourself, what's your hook? All right, so that's fun. What about speeches? What does that have to do with speeches? Well, speeches have this thing that we use a more sophisticated phrase called a foundational phrase, but it's just a hook. That's all it is. It's just a hook, just like a song hook. It might be a slogan or a phrase or a mantra, but one way or another, it's just a hook. You just use it the same way in a speech. Now, some examples. Not too long ago, we celebrated Martin Luther King's birthday. King had perhaps the most memorable speech, certainly of my lifetime, maybe of the 20th century, the I Have a Dream speech. When he got to that spot in his speech, I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed, that all men are created equal. And he would go on and he'd come back again with, I have a dream, and then he'd have another message to bring with that. But that whole I have a dream, 4 words, was his hook for that speech and made that maybe the most memorable speech in any of our lifetimes. Now, another area where hooks come in and the best speech givers tend to use them is religious preachers. Some of the best preachers on earth, when they're given blistering sermons, they'll have a hook in it. And if you look at maybe the most famous sermon in the Christian world, it's the Sermon on the Mount, which has this thing called the Beatitudes, that they all start with, blessed are the. So for example, blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. And then there are 7 more, blessed are the. Statements that follow. And the fact that each one of those statements starts with the same 3 words makes this a really good hook. Now, was Jesus a great hit songwriter? I don't know, maybe not. But he understood the meaning of repetition of something that was important in this particular case in the sermon. Another area where you see hooks used a lot in speaking is politicians. If you remember Barack Obama when he was running for president in 2008, his standard stump speech, he would talk about a problem that needed solving or something that we were hoping to accomplish, and he'd end that particular piece of his speech with a, can we do this? Yes, we can. And that yes, we can was something he used repeatedly all throughout his stump speech. So that actually not only became a hook for his speeches, it became a hook for his campaign as a whole. Winston Churchill, more than 60 years before that, gave a famous speech trying to rouse the British populace into being ready to go to war against the Nazis with a famous speech that had a section that said, we shall fight on the beaches. We shall fight on the landing grounds. We shall fight, etc. And it went on with a number of them. But that repetition of the we shall fight on the was his hook in that speech, and it made it much more memorable. And so historians and regular people still remember it then. Now, an interesting area, probably the world champion area of hooks, is advertising. If you hear the phrase, just do it, you know instantly that's Nike. If you hear the phrase, breakfast of champions, you know immediately that's Wheaties. Well, thousands and thousands of people get paid millions and millions of dollars to come up with hooks for their products that will be memorable. And that makes a lot of money for a lot of people. Now, finally, even Toastmasters use hooks. Craig Valentine was the 1999 world champion of public speaking, and he's really big. If you've ever looked at any of his coaching or any of the stuff on his website, he's really big on foundational phrases, that is hooks. And he used one, your dream is not for sale, actually in his world championship speech in 1999. So he also understood the importance of hooks. Well, what makes a good speech hook? Kind of the same thing. Keep it short, keep it simple. I have a dream, short and simple. Or maybe have it summarize your speech. Your dream is not for sale. Or invite the audience to participate. You may or may not agree with the message, but Donald Trump's lock her up is an incredibly effective hook for his base audiences. What else might make it better? Repeat it, as Obama did with his yes, we can. Give it rhythm. Yes, we can. Even if that rhythm is equal rhythm, give it a pulse to it that is memorable. And then don't use those words elsewhere if you can avoid it. Again, with Nike, in their just do it phrase, you won't find just do it anywhere else in a Nike ad, not till the close where they want to get your attention to make sure that you have it. So as you put your next speech together, have the answer to what's your hook. If your hook is memorable, you may have a top 40 speech. So one more time, what's your hook? Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Jim. Or that's probably good for showbiz, right? At this time, if you could time another minute, everybody get your chat box up if you need to, and change to Jim at Vocal Jim, the person you will send your comments to, because Kenzie probably doesn't want his comments. So could time a minute, please, Charlie. All right, minutes up. Our next speaker. Discover the storytelling formula most often used in Hollywood. Use stories to become more memorable and build trust with others. Building Better Stories, Sarah Bateman. Sarah, oh, you are, she's sharing.
Yeah. There. So why do businesses need stories? Well, the same way we need stories. It's to pass information from one person to another, to set up legacies, to explain complicated concepts. I was listening to a speech probably a month ago about renewable energy, specifically solar energy. And I was hit with fact after fact after fact. And I don't remember any of it. But what I do remember is like 3 years ago, I went to buy a car seat for my grandson. And I wasn't told anything about the makeup of the car. I mean the car seat. I didn't know what it was built of. I didn't know. But they put a picture in my mind of driving down the road, being free because I knew my grandson was safe in the back of the car. And so that is what businesses also need to do. They need to pull in the client into the stories and specifically build the stories around the client. So if you want to be memorable, you're about 22% more memorable if you actually tell a story. You might have wonderful facts, but incorporate them into a story and they will be remembered. So why does this work this way? Well, because of our brains. We have a left brain and a right brain. And on the left side, that's where we have the number crunching, the analytical, problem solving, organizing, managing, those types of activities. But on the right side, we have experience experimenting, risk-taking, visualization, observation, communication. And think a moment, where would decision-making be? It's on the right side. It's a creative process. So many times if you run into somebody who's caught in the numbers and the statistics, that they need to analyze it more and more and more, they're having trouble going to the right side of the brain. And to help them get over there, tell them a story, because that will open them up and automatically they'll go to the right side of the brain, where people make a decision. Well, what are the emotions? First, you have external emotions when you're building a story for businesses particularly. An external would be, oh, look I noticed Peter painted his house. It looks nice. It's not really connected with you, but it looks okay. The internal will be, wow, my house is looking a little bit dumpy. I'm a little bit embarrassed when people come over. I want to be proud of my house. I want to enjoy people coming over to my house. So that's more internal. You have an emotion linked to that. And the third is philosophical. It would be, wow, I painted my house, and then the Kims down the street, they painted their house, and the Johnsons and the Smiths. I am starting a trend. I am changing the whole neighborhood. In fact, people come through this neighborhood, they probably take it back to their own neighborhood. Our whole city is becoming beautiful. Not only our whole city, but our whole world, just because I painted my house. And in fact, when the aliens wander by, they're spiffing up their spaceships. Now, you might not be as big of an egotistical person as I am, but those are the three types of emotions you want to plug into. So how do you plug into it? First is the setup. This is where you see the protagonist or the hero of the story in an everyday life. You see a glimpse of maybe he's at work, you might see a little bit of his home, his family, but it shows you what he is like. And it shows you also the potential. You also want to set up a link to that character. You want people to relate to that character. And you can do it three ways. One is through sympathy. Maybe he just lost his job and you're feeling sorry for him. One might be jeopardy. He's on a dark street and a thug is coming at him. You put him in jeopardy, that will automatically get people wondering, is he going to survive? And the third is likability. There was a movie called Hitch where the accountant was likable. He was clumsy, he was awkward, but he was likable. So you were rooting for the accountant, even though he really wasn't that competent. So you also need to figure out, what are the dreams that this character has? What do they want? In Hitch, the accountant wanted to pursue a lady. He wanted to marry her. Well, which is, a common theme. But he wanted to marry a movie star, not some lady at the library or he saw at the coffee shop, but a movie star. Somebody he saw once a month in the office. He was one of maybe 20 accountants that were in the office when she would arrive. She didn't even know what his name was. And so all these problems stacked against him causes what is called a story gap. It's the gap between where the character is and where he wants to go. What is he dreaming about? And so if you can play with that story gap, that is where the tension in your stories will come from. So what is the problem? After you've established a problem, the character meets a guide. In Hitch, he met the love doctor who helped him become more suave and woo this lady. Well, Star Wars, who are the guides? Luke Skywalker, he first met Obi-Wan Kenobi, and then he met Yoda. In Cinderella, she had the fairy godmother. Lord of the Rings, Frodo had Gandalf. So there's a guide that they meet. And the guide gives them a plan. The fairy godmother said, okay, Cinderella, we're going to get you a beautiful gown and some slippers, and we're going to sneak you into that ball. Obi-Wan Kenobi's plan was a little bit more complex. He had to train Luke to become a Jedi. The plan was to gain the skills. And then they sent him off to a call to action. If you remember, Cinderella was sent off in the carriage to the palace so that she could woo the prince, so that she could become established as a competitor for all the other ladies and who were competing for his hand. When Frodo went off, he had to save the Shire. He had to save all of Middle Earth. And then, of course, when Luke went off, he had to save the whole galaxies from the Darth Vader. So what is the call to action? Where are they going off to? This is almost every movie that you meet. This is the way it progresses. You have the character, they have a problem, they meet a guide who gives them a plan, calls them to action, say you go off and do it. And then there's this dichotomy. Will they succeed? What will happen if they succeed? And what will happen if they fail? Well, in Cinderella, if she succeeded, she married the prince. If she failed, she wouldn't have been noticed. In Star Wars, the rebels would have been, if they succeeded, they were able to live in freedom, whereas if they failed, they would be crushed by the Empire. So there's always that question of, will they succeed or will they fail? And how important is that? Whoops. So next time you're thinking about giving a presentation, especially a business presentation, could you follow this guideline? Who is the character? Well, it would be somebody like your client. What problems do your clients have? It might be they need a new car, or they need something that will make them more, maybe a coach. Whatever they are, you have to hone in on that problem. And then you step into the guide as the guide, because you're going to give them a plan and a call to action. And if they're successful, they will be a better place in their life. Whereas if failure, that's not as good. But anytime you have a story, the character has to end up in a better place than he began. And you say, well, if he fails, how can that be a better place than he began? Well, he gained knowledge. Or if he succeeded, maybe he gained status, or maybe he gained a wife. But the character always has to gain something, because stories are about movement. It's about moving people from one place to another. So put your stories into your business presentations, and they will be 22% more memorable. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. And we do have somebody new who joined us. Lucilla, if you want to unmute and say hello, you can do that, but you don't have to if you don't want to. We welcome you to our meeting. All right, we'll give you a chance at the end if you want to make some comments too, Lucilla. Right now, if you could time Charlie for 1 minute, and we can make comments. Remember to change the to Sarah Bateman in the chat box. We'll have 1 minute that you can make comments for Sarah on things she did well or things that she might do differently. You can start timing now, Charlie.
1 minute was up.
Thank you very much. Well, a little PSA, public service announcement, just a reminder to create secure passwords. And one way to do that is an idea I got from my husband, where you have a base password that you use for everything, except you add the 2 letters from the beginning of the website. For example, let's say you picked, like this little baby picked, Ugly Guku as your password. Then if you were going to log into Wells Fargo, your password would be Ugly Guku WE. And for Toastmasters, it might be Ugly Guku TO. That way, it's something easy to remember, but also different as well.
So
So
if I
that's
could
just
add that,
what?
you want a word, and
That you
then you
could,
want a number, and then you could add the 2
Correct.
letters afterwards.
right. So, you know, a lot of them need numbers as well. But the idea is to have a base password that will work, and then just add in the 2 letters from the website.
And in some places, they require a special character, so I just put an exclamation mark at the end.
Thank you. Well, Kim Windingland is our table topics master, and I did change it on our agenda that we can finish table topics by 8:11. That will still give us time to accomplish the rest of the meeting. So Kim, it is up to you now for table topics.
Okay, and oops, every time you change that, I lose my chat box.
You can always hit the chat icon again.
So I know we have a couple guests who joined us. If you would, I would appreciate a response from both of you, whether you want to participate in table topics or not. And let me explain what table topics can be like for this meeting. So you have 1 or 2 choices. The theme is too much information. And one choice will be to take the topic I give you, which, as an example, let's say that the topic I give you is something like, how was your visit at the doctor's office? And if you respond saying something like, well, wow, I had this big zit on my back and it was just gross. It just oozed out cream cheese as he squeezed it. Okay, that's too much information. So that is, okay, now in that example, you're just going to make something up because we're assuming that it's not real. So just have fun with it and make up something that is way too much information in the scenario that I'm giving you as table topics. So that's one choice. The other choice is when I pick you, if you have a great story to tell us about too much information, go ahead and just speak up saying, I got a story to tell. So those are your 2 choices. My first participant, I'm going to pick on Catherine. Are you ready? So do you have a story? Or do you want a subject? We'll give you an opportunity to be imaginative. I'm going to give you a subject. Okay. So here's this. You are chatting with a person in line at a Walmart checkout.
Okay.
You could tell the story about this person sharing too much information, or you could mimic talking to the person giving too much information.
Great. Geez, thanks, Kim. I appreciate that. Let me go back to my days of being in the Walmart where I spent a lot of time when I lived in Buffalo. Probably too much information would be, I don't know if it was in the checkout line exactly, but when I was getting my nails done and I was chatting with my friend who was doing my nails, and I would watch some of these women go by and they had literally pajamas on and slippers. I saw that one time. And she was going by pajama bottoms and slippers, and Nancy and I kind of went back and forth about how in the world would this person literally come to Walmart in her pajamas and what was going on in their world. And we took it to, she just rolled out of bed. She really never looked in the mirror. Does she have any idea what she looks like? Oh, wait, there's another person dressed similarly. Perhaps we're overdressed at Walmart. I'm really not sure. But I don't know that I really got that much of the too much information at a Walmart. I really don't know where to go with this. I'm going to quit.
Oh, that's a good point. At Walmart, I guess everything goes, right?
It does.
Okay, next, Lori. Okay, and the topic I have for you, Lori, is, unless you have a story you want to cut me off with, how about this one? You were reading a post on Facebook from your significant other.
Well, nobody ever shares too much information on a Facebook post. Oh my, or do I have a story? What is more interesting?
If you want to make it someone else.
I might have to. I have seen way too much information on Facebook, and I'm trying to recall one particular one. Oh, they're all so sad, though. Let's go with the story of too much information on the online dating sites, because, you know, you guys can't get enough of my online dating stories. So let me share with you with what people post on online dating. Unfortunately, it does get to be way too much information. There are people that post exactly what they're looking for as part of their online dating experience. And I mean, everything. They will go into, seriously, positions, likes and dislikes. I kid you not. This will be written out, and they will be explicit. So talk about weird and gross, and sometimes you get the pictures to go along with them too, which is even more disturbing and interesting to see what kind of slice of life is out there. And I couldn't wait to remove myself from that slice of the pie because it was too much to be part of. Mr. Table Topics Master.
Thank you, Lori. Do we have time for one more? Okay. So I'm going to pick on, who should I pick on? You know, I'm going to pick on Kenzie on this one. I know you gave a speech.
I thought I was going to get out of this.
So you are at an interview, and this, I'm going to ask you to play a role. You're at an interview, and you're going to share too much information. The interviewer, your potential future boss, ask you, tell me something about yourself that would be important for me to know.
And you want me to share too much information.
Yeah, just play act.
Okay, thank you for that wonderful question. What's important about me for you to know? I have an odd and bizarre and very weird obsession that I take way too far. And that obsession is for fish and aquatic species. And Wish I could say I were kidding, but I could walk out into my living room right now and show you a 65-gallon aquarium filled with freshwater aquatic fish. Well, actually, there are only 3 in there right now, but usually I have like 25 when I take care of them. But I've got 3 right now, and I've got plants and I've got rock structures. And if I had a little bit more time, I would tell you the entire story. Actually, this would make a pretty good speech. I'd tell you the entire story of me learning how to take care of fish, because it started with a 10-gallon aquarium and about 100 fish that I brought back to the store in little baggies because I couldn't keep them alive. And I went every single weekend to the World of Fish in Duluth with a water sample. And I said, why can't I keep these fish alive? And every single week they told me what I was doing wrong. And now I have evolved into my 65-gallon aquarium. And this is so important for the job that I'm interviewing for. So yeah, keep me in mind for that position. I'll give you all the fish
Yes,
knowledge in the
as
world.
owner of the pet store, I want to hire you as my assistant manager. And that concludes table topics. Back to Toastmaster Diane.
Well, thank you everyone for participating. And I have to share with you about Lucilla. Lucilla lives in Romania, and it is 4 a.m. there, and she is not participating because everyone else in her house is asleep. She just happened to wake up, check Facebook, and see that we had a meeting. So she's just on for the entertainment of a Toastmaster meeting. Thank you, Lucilla, for joining us today. All right, I think I need to share again here. We just finished up with table topics. And now we are going to have our evaluation session, where each of our speakers will receive an individual evaluation from our evaluators. We will start with Lori, who is evaluating Kenzie.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and our honored guests, and especially Kenzie. Kenzie, I think you did a terrific job explaining what can be a very large and difficult subject of digital strategy. You started out by showing your credibility. You are obviously an expert on this, and you did share that we were going to learn about 3 specific things, which I think it was really good to really break down the topic. On the content, you kept it really high level. I think this would have been an opportunity where it could have gotten out of hand with the jargon involved in digital media strategy. There's a lot of jargon, and I think that would have been really confusing for the audience. And I thought you did a great job keeping things at a real high level where we didn't get into that jargon. At the same time, I think if the audience didn't have any familiarity with the topic, this would have been a little tough to follow. But I think most of the folks in this audience, I'm guessing, probably have some work within digital media at some point. The presentation itself, I thought, was great. I thought you had some really great moments when you were presenting the 3 different topics. The one I really liked was when you were talking about some of the content in the social, that you said if you're trying to share everything to everyone, you're going to share nothing with no one. I thought that was a really great line there that really grabbed my attention. I also thought you did a great job explaining the difference between social media and mass advertising and how things have changed for marketers over the years, just with those little nuances of marketing. I also thought your slides themselves as part of the presentation were really well done. There was a lot of white space. The pictures were really crisp and sharp. I don't think there was too many words on it, and the presentation itself was enhanced by the slides rather than read. So I thought that was really well done. As far as meeting the objectives of the Toastmaster objectives and the criteria on this, I think you've probably been researching this topic all of your life, but I don't know how much additional research you did as part of this. I don't know if to maybe fulfill the Toastmaster criteria part, if there was some maybe latest and greatest information or research that you could have thrown in, stats, how many social media things are going on now, those sort of stats might have added to the maybe fulfilling the Toastmaster criteria as part of this. And as far as a tip, I would say this is a really different format, doing an online meeting, but I think some of the things still stay the same as far as jumping right into it and going ahead and doing your presentation. Where you opened up with more of a hi there and you closed with a thanks, I think you could have jumped right in and just gone right into your presentation and then closed by just returning it to the Toastmaster. Also, just a one-time, I think, offering your help out. I know this is a really big topic, and if you have any more questions, please feel free to contact me. I think saving that for the end would have given you a little more additional room for your speech in the middle. But overall, I thought it was terrific. I think it was a great way to give everyone a high-level view of digital strategy. And I'll return it to the Toastmaster. Thank you.
Thank you, Lori. Our next evaluator to evaluate Jim Emery will be Catherine Hoy. Catherine, please do your evaluation.
Thank you. Well, Jim, as always, I have to get you on the screen so I can see you. There we go. Ta-da! Hi. Okay. So as always, I love listening to your speeches, and you did not disappoint. You are well organized, so as I'm looking at the evaluation form I'm supposed to deal with, it was very well organized. You gave us multiple examples of hooks in music, classical, the oldies, even the new ones, and then you would sing lines, so we knew what you were talking about. If we didn't remember the song, we did once you sang it, so that was great. And then you took that from the music part, so you had that burned into our head where it was that. I was so thankful you didn't go into It's a Small World. So with all of those examples, one thing I found a little interesting, you went through all of that, and so we were all thinking, this has been really fun. Your segue, and when you look at the recording, I think you'll probably go, oh yeah, really? Your segue was, all right, so that's fun. It just kind of went, and okay, well then you moved into, but how do we relate that to speeches and Toastmasters? And then once again, you were on a roll to say, you know, you talked about Martin Luther King. Of course, we all know I have a dream. We might not know anything else about that, but we know I have a dream. And then we moved into the religious side with the Beatitudes. Blessed be, da-da-da-da-da. We got that. And then we moved to politics. So you were able to carry this whole concept of the hook through multiple, and then advertising. Just do it. Yes, we know that. It leaves us with the thought process that these hooks are everywhere. Bringing it back around, you brought it back to say, keep it short and simple. Give it a rhythm. Place it properly. You don't see or hear just do it in Nike's ads except for at the end. You challenge us to say, what's your hook? So throughout the whole presentation, you started and ended with a song, Sweet Caroline. One of the things you wanted me to look for in the presentation was how did you come across on the screen? And when you see this, and this is a challenge that you can fix by practicing in front of the screen, you were up here somewhere all the time, or most of the time you were looking up. And I was trying to, over on my end, I'm like, look down at me, look at me. You were you were over here. And that's just a function of where are we looking, because we don't have anybody to look at. And then I don't know if you can see this, but with my hands, when you were using hands, they were kind of blurring in front of the screen just from the delay.
Yeah, the viewpoint was where my notes were. And that's just something I need to practice.
Right. And so these are just what I'm seeing on the other side of the screen.
Yeah.
So that was the gestures. And that was really it more than anything else. When you go back and look at it, it's where are you looking? Because it's so powerful to actually make that eye contact with the speaker. But otherwise, fabulous as always. Thank you.
Thank you, Catherine. And our final evaluator, who has also been doing double duty as our timer, is Charlie. Charlie, who will be evaluating our final speaker, Sarah Bateman.
Sarah, can I see you? I can't see you. Let's see.
You can scroll down probably.
There. Yep, I see you right now. I can see you there. Can you see me? Perfect. You built a better story, truly did. And the member was to deliver a well-organized speech on any topic, and that topic was building a better story. And you started out by saying, you know, a good example of is pulling the client into the story. And the wonderful facts incorporate, you can have wonderful facts, and if you have wonderful facts, incorporate them into a good story, you're way ahead of the game. Because a lot of business facts, in fact, are pretty dull. So then you began with these great slides, and you had, you know, the side of the left brain and then the right brain, and then you talked about decision-making side being the right brain. You went to emotions and external and internal, and gave lots. You did a lot of research on this. I was impressed with how much you did. And you had some humor. The aliens spiffed up their spaceship. If they see that we have painted our houses, they will spiff up their spaceships. I thought that was pretty funny. There, another one, the setup. You link to the character, the introduction of the character, the pictures, and then you pretty much itemized everything after you had a basic title. The slides meet the call to action in the slides, and the clarity. In this evaluation form, it says clarity, vocal variety, eye contact, gestures. And I've listened to your other speeches you gave about your grandson. And this was definitely a step up, I think, from that, because there was a lot of detail that went into this speech. A lot of interest, because and then at the very end, you pulled it all into the fact that we can become better presenters if we use this type of a selection like you did. So that the slide effectiveness, I was definitely a 5, and again the topic was a 5. I was very interested. I learned a lot, so I want to thank you. Great job.
Thank you, Charlie. And now, Charlie, you are on a roll. You get to tell us about how we did with time this evening.
Okay, I am on a roll, and let's see. Okay, so see if I can find all my notes here. I got them. So Kenzie, 11:59. Jim, 13:43. Where is he? I know he's someplace. Jim, 53. Yeah. Okay. Did you get that, Jim? Jim?
Yeah, he got it.
Okay. How do I know that they're listening, or how does that go?
Just keep talking.
Okay. All right. And then Kath, let's see. There's let's see. For Sarah, it was a 10:23. For Kim, overall, it was 9 minutes and 9 seconds. Catherine, minute 48. Lori, 2 minutes. Kenzie, 1:30 in your table topics. Lori, for evaluator, 2:54. Catherine, 3:28. and myself 239. Lori had, yeah, okay, that's it. That's what
Thank you. Thank you, Charlie, and thank you for doing double duty tonight.
Thanks for asking me. This has been a great experience.
Well,
Experimental
good.
experience.
So we are going to be closing a little quicker than what's on this slide. We'll take a few comments on the online meeting experience. I just have a short closing comment. We'll maybe have some announcements. We'll have an opportunity for our guests to make comments and then adjournment. So at this time, you can unmute yourself if you would like to comment, and we'll only do this for a couple minutes, on this experience. What you liked about it, something maybe you'd like differently. This is your time to give just a couple minutes of comments.
I loved it, and I really want to do this again. I thought it was a great experience. I've never done anything like it before. I got amazing feedback from everyone, so thank you for that. And I look forward to practicing. So let's do it again.
Okay. Other comments?
I thought the 1 minute was too short because I can't type that fast to get any information in. Plus, I was timing it, so I think there was a little too much, too little for too much for too little.
I think probably, Charlie, that you should have probably not even tried to write comments when you're timing, because that's like too much cognitive load. But you would not be timer every time. So I think the person timing can just, like, unless you really type fast, just forget. I'll take one more comment. Someone has one more comment?
Just one thing I noticed, just the environment is at each of our locations kind of has an impact on how this works. I mentioned to Sarah, for example, that the contrast is very low in her spot. It is sort of a dim gray background, and she's got dark clothing on, and so she doesn't stand out in the image like, say, I'm looking at Kenzie, who has a lot of white behind her. And then some black, so that it's more striking. I look at Lori; she's got red, kind of a bold red on, which stands out as well. So I think there is something too on our end. What works better.
Okay. And it could also be lighting, Sarah. If you had a lamp behind your computer that would maybe light up your face a little bit more, that might help as well.
Jim, I like the fact you had plants. It reminds me spring is right around the corner.
Yeah. All right. Now this is my final, you may not be able to read this, but just don't be this guy online. Nah, I'm not worried about cloud security. My stored data is so disorganized, they'd never be able to find anything. Don't be that guy. And then I am going to be turning it over to our club president for any announcement, guest comments, and adjournment.
Thanks, Diane. Great job setting this up. I think it was a great success, and it was a super opportunity to have this chance to have an online meeting to get additional opportunities to speak. But also, I know for me at my job, we do WebEx every day. This is how I meet with most of the folks across the country. So having an opportunity to get some feedback on how we're doing with this sort of presentation format, I think is a really great opportunity for everyone in their business practices to really practice and get better at it.
Great. I do have one question. Does anyone mind if we put this on our YouTube channel? Jim, I will have to get the login information from you, and I could put it up myself, but I don't have that login information. I'll send you an email.
I'll send you the info.
Okay.
Well done, Diane.
And
it was a great the first time.
I'm thinking about maybe doing this again in 2 months, and we can talk about a date at a later time.
Yeah, that's good. Good speeches and a lot of first time. It's interesting.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I know we have at least one guest here who might be able to make some comments. Lou Marie. Lumari, I got it right
Sorry. Yes.
there.
Hello, thank you for the opportunity. For me, it was a great experience because I usually meet via phone, a call with my other colleagues. However, we do not share, we are not interested in seeing anybody, each other via the video. So this is very interesting because I need to watch myself to not do any facial expression or anything. Congrats. I love all of the speeches. For me, it was very business oriented in some level, something that I want to hear more because I want to improve in my speech, but talking with business people in the corporate world. My club is called United with Toast, and we meet at our company, United Health Group. I've been a Toastmaster for 2 years, and I was curious to know about the format of this club, and I liked it, and I like the fact that you are more flexible on your time, giving your speeches, and less time in the top table topics, because that's the part that I'm scared of. And I'm intruder today, but I really recommend you, to consider this, to have it every month or every 2 months, because right now everybody is the corporate world, or it revolves around communicating with other people via video conferences. So that's thank you.
Thank you. Thank
for having
you.
me.
Thank you so much for joining us, Lumari. We appreciate you having you aboard. And if you liked what you saw tonight, we actually do in-person meetings too.
Oh yes, that's what I was noting in my calendar.
And here's our next one. We meet on the second Mondays of every month, very early in the morning, 6:30 till 8:30 in the morning at the Ridgedale Byerly's in Minnetonka. Our next meeting is February 10th. Beyond that, we have a club speech contest coming up, and we will be sending out more information on that. That'll be Saturday, February 29th at Ridgedale Library, and we will get you more information on times of that. But I'm excited to say that we have enough interest to actually hold a contest. So we shall hold a contest. Excited to have that. And with that, I want to thank everyone for joining us today. And I look forward to seeing you on Monday, February 10th. Have a great night.
Thank you. Bye.
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 Bye.